the average person knows that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are pulling levers of power know 10 times more than what the persons who are looking down or look on the outside don't know. How is it that people who do know just how dangerous and devastating these things are just continue to go full speed ahead?
Is that rhetorical?
No, I'm serious. Like, why?
Financial incentive, no?
Yeah, but you can't drink oil and you can't eat money.
They don't care. They're going to mine it until they die.
A friend of mine a very long time ago worked for some very, very, very affluent people. And she said it really shifted her perspective on wealth and the way people with money behave. And part of it, I think, is cognitive dissonance. I think, and I don't think that's just limited to people in power or people with extreme wealth, where they just don't really, they understand that something is happening, but like it is easy if it's not happening continually to distance yourself from that reality, right? Like there's something about the human brain that I don't want to say gets inured to trauma, but it sort of gets used to it. Like there are studies that show that after several years of extreme weather, we get used to several years of extreme weather. So there's that aspect of it. But there's this other aspect of it, which is I think in many cases, people think their power and their wealth will protect them.
I agree 1,000%. And I do think there's so many true, again, I don't want to feel like we're living through Don't Look Up, but it's so, I mean, we're friendly with David Sirota. It's so weird how life is imitating art in the worst kind of way. Like it really, him and Adam McKay hit every note possible. And it's almost like there couldn't have been a greater warning about what's going on. And I'm at the point where I'm thinking, even if we had like a real global catastrophe, mm-hmm. like 10 million people died, mm-hmm. like, would that finally be the straw that breaks the camel's back? I don't know at this point.
No. You'd have to have people like Bill Gates profiting off of that somehow, and Elon Musk would do something. Like there would be so much to profit off of, and whatever they were going to be doing. Like everything is a profit motive for.
Well, it's
people.
Even something right now, and the last thing I'll mention is obviously we've got the prospect of, the railroad workers strike, mm-hmm. because that's still very likely to happen. And the audacity of the president to go on 60 Minutes and say, oh, I took care of that. Right. It's like, you didn't take care of anything.
But people believe that.
So I think the railroad workers strike is a really good example of sort of what's wrong with, I think, a lot of media, and also what's wrong with the way in which we prop up our values. And this is why I was getting back to, like, I think we need different values and different priorities in order, more so than we need even different technology. We need to tweak our culture. And it's because if you read a lot of the coverage, especially the early coverage, so much of it was centered on the disruption, what products you weren't going to be able to get, how it might impact your online shopping, these kinds of things, right? Very little of that coverage, with the exception of, I believe, Vice did a really good story where they interviewed 28 railroad workers. Very little of that coverage was the fact that these are people who essentially don't get any paid time off. Right? Very little, that they're constantly on call. Very little of it was essentially that these people are working under horrific conditions that very few of us would sign up to work under, right? And that part of that reason that that's happening is because of private equity kind of taking over the railroads. Like very little of that was actually made it way into mainstream coverage of what was actually going on with the railroad strike. And you see that a little bit I think Fortune did a story about UPS workers might potentially go on strike, and it sort of centered the top possible wage you can make as a UPS driver. It ignored how many were part-time workers. It ignored the fact that UPS workers are forced to deliver packages in extreme heat without air conditioning, and some have died on the job. Like it kind of alluded past all of that. And you see that again earlier. I think it was the Kellogg or the GM, I don't eat cereal, so I don't know, but the General Milk, one of the cereal companies went on strike. And so much of the coverage was, thank you. So much of the coverage was like what cereal you wouldn't be able to get, and very little about like, what are they actually striking for? And you see that over and over again. And so what it does constantly is it creates a scarcity mindset where these people, you don't learn that what they're fighting for, you don't learn what their rights are. And so you can't actually make the decision of like, it is fine that I can't get my Cheerios, that's General Mills. I can't get my Cheerios for a while because these people are fighting for rights that I agree with. It is framed completely in how this fight for rights will inconvenience you. And I think we do that to a certain extent with climate too, which is why I recently did an episode on bicycling. And the reason I did this episode was because so much of the way we talk about cycling, it is framed as an obligation. You should be biking to work. You should be biking around because it is better for the environment. But that's not why I cycle. That's not why I have 3 bikes. I ride bikes because it's fun. And so the whole point of the story is that riding a bike, especially when you have decent infrastructure, is actually a delightful way of getting around. And it's a thing that it is a form of theft that more of us are not able to bike around when we want to.
Oh, I could not agree more. And again, the funny thing is the solutions, they're all there. Mm-hmm. It's not like there's this magic, this magic formula that we're looking for. All the things that we need to fix this problem, they're right in front of us. We just have to have the will to make it so.
We need to get rid of the people that are on the corporate payroll that are blocking things from happening.
I mean, yes, but we also, I think, you see this a lot with like fashion where people are like, don't buy Shein, don't buy, and people are like, well, I can't not buy Shein. And it's like, this company didn't exist really for most people 5 to 10 years ago. And you were not going through life naked. It is possible to buy less clothes. Like that is a thing that it is within your grasp.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.